Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, welcome to Debate Crypto in a world where hopium collides with common sense, starring your hosts, the Crypto Keeper and the one and only Blockchain Crusader. What is up, Miguel? How you doing? ¿Qué onda?
Que hola, tiburón. Good. And you?
Man.
How's it going, man?
I'm doing good, bro. What do we got scheduled for the podium today, my dude?
So for tonight, we have taking profits and setting up your exit strategy for the end of the bull run.
Fantastic, dude. Two good topics. I think we could probably go deep on this one for sure.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
ladies and gents, wind your Hot Wheels. It is time to get rolling. Let's get it, Miguel.
Nice. So yeah, dude, taking profits. I think it's one of the we've discussed it, right? It's one of the hardest things to do. It's that sentiment. It's like I personally feel, right, sometimes that I don't want to sell on certain projects, right? Like ETH, Bitcoin. It's just I feel like there's such a finite amount of them, and I might not be able to recuperate that amount that I have now if I take profits and I'm greedy in the short term, right? I don't have that long-term vision, because I see it as a New York real estate, right? The families that bought New York real estate at the beginning and held on to that real estate and never sold will never need money for anything ever again, right? They're forever wealthy. And they did it by just holding on versus selling it and saying, well, maybe I'll buy some more real estate later on here in New York since it's doing such a good business. It's only going to get more expensive, and it's going to become harder and harder to come by a good deal. And I feel like I've gotten a pretty good deal on ETH and Bitcoin, and I'm just not sometimes willing to let go.
Yeah. I agree with the sentiment for sure. One of the hardest things for me is taking profit. I've talked about it before, waking up on May 19th or whatever, and literally seeing my profit my portfolio just absolutely just slaughtered, just took a nosedive, right? And I had a full on plan to take a bunch of profit with ETH at 4K, right? And then I'll tell you what happened. I had some sell orders in, which I canceled, right? Prior to, as it was ripping up towards, because I literally looked at the macro landscape of the market at that point, and I was like, you know what? I know my game plan is to actually walk away and sell in May, right? I was taking the stock market approach. That was my game plan. But man, like, this is going to keep ripping. So why am I going to cut myself short? Now, let me tell you, that is a huge mistake. If you are now, well, hold on, let me back that up. That can be a huge mistake depending on what your whole portfolio looks like and what your goals are. And so that's why we're going to talk about that too. But having that emotion attached to these assets makes it even that much harder. I joke around and talk about ETH being my girlfriend, right? You guys, we talk about that all the time. You hear me talk about my girlfriend, whatever. Yes, you guys know that I'm married. My girlfriend is not really a side piece. It is ETH, right? And that started with just TikTok not letting us say what we wanted to say. But that being said, I am emotionally attached to some of these projects. I am. It's a lie for me to tell you any different, right? These projects are, let's think about it this way, right? I wake up in the middle of the night, right? It's 2:00 in the morning. I've got to take a leak, right? I get up, but before I get up, right? Miguel, can you please fill in the blank? What do I do?
Dude, you're thinking about that portfolio, man. You're thinking about looking over, just like, oh, let me go check and see how it's doing.
Yeah, my phone's right next to my is on my nightstand next to my bed. And so what do? I do what every good crypto addict does, right? I pick up the phone and I just glance. I'm like, hey, what are the Asian markets doing right now? Because that's a really normal thing for any individual to do, right? 2:00 in the morning, need to use the bathroom. Wait a minute, let me see what the Asian markets are doing, right? And so I do have not just an attachment to the portfolio, but to general, like certain assets in general. So when I took a bunch of profits, middle of May, I did take I took a bunch off the table. Well, guess what? The things that I didn't take off the table were the two main projects that I have that emotional attachment to, and it's Bitcoin and ETH, right?
Yeah.
Um, but what I wanted to say was that one of the easiest ways to try to detach yourself from that is to set up sell orders, set up buy orders, so that your emotions aren't saying, "Oh shoot, I think it's going to go lower," or "I'd feel really good at a better entry or exit point," or whatever. And if you can do that, then that means that you have set up a plan, and there's got to be a reason for that plan. It's not just I think I'll just sell at this. No, I had a game plan. I was like, you know what? At 4K, the majority of my ETH, I've 20x'd at that point, right?
Yes.
I feel like, you know what I mean? Like I had a plan for that. I kicked myself for not doing it. We're approaching 4K again, although my strategy at this point has changed some. Taking profits is not easy. It's just not, right? But it needs to be a part of every portfolio at some point in some sort of way. So let's talk about that, Miguel. Does it need to be a part of your portfolio? Because quite honestly, I guess it doesn't. But talk to me about that.
So it does and it doesn't, right? It's kind of like I said earlier today, was it depends on your portfolio size, right? If you have a small portfolio, right, you just got in, you got 1,000, maybe $5,000, right, and you've been able to maybe double or triple that so far, and you've only got maybe like a handful or less of crypto assets. You're like, okay, I want to expand. Then it is a smart idea to definitely, take some profits and then start expanding and accumulating, getting ready for the bear market to reaccumulate a bigger portfolio in crypto, right? But when it comes to Bitcoin and Ethereum, I personally feel, like I said earlier, was it's there's a finite amount of them, and the price point that I got in on them will never come around again, right? Like,
Right.
It's not like, oh, we're going to come back down after this big bull run. We're going to come back down to 1,500 ETH. Okay. I got in a lot earlier than 1,500 on ETH, right? And it'd be awesome, right? I could definitely, like you said, right? I can sell my ETH now. And if we were to, let's say that this would be the top, right? 4,000, and we drop back down to 1,500 or whatever, that would be the next bottom. Yes, I could, reaccumulate, buy up a bunch of more ETH. But what if it doesn't, right? What if it doesn't? And I'm left holding the bag, expecting to come down to these lower prices, and we don't, right? What if the super cycle kicks in, right? There's all these thoughts, right? I'm not a trader. I'm not an expert by any means in that term. So I do feel personally attached to these cryptos for the fact that they make life-changing money. There is no other asset that I would rather have my money in that can make me the level of money that these assets have made me. So why sell what to buy an ETF in the stock market?
I feel like I have a semi solution for this problem that we're talking about, and here's kind of what I am coming to the conclusion. I'm doing one of two things. One, I'm taking now this idea that I'm about to throw out there is A, risky, and B, you really need to have a larger portfolio to make this make sense. But I'm going to do one of two things. I'm either, or maybe a combination of both. One option is taking loans against my crypto. We don't need to go down that whole path again. We're actually going to bring on Crypto Ryan on here, or Ryan Crypto, I think is how he has it set up on there. But he has done quite a bit of that. He's got a pretty large portfolio, and so that's one option to where I'm never actually paying those capital gains, but still able to utilize, accumulate more, blah blah blah. Right. So that's one option. My other option is sell a large portion of my portfolio because I do have absolute conviction, right? I have absolute conviction that when this bull market is over, we are going to drop back down at a minimum down to, around where we're at right now. And I think we're going to go at least double where we're at as a whole. So my thought process is two things. One, let's say it goes up by double. Okay. And then my thoughts are, okay, let's say I'm able to actually sell somewhere around that top. I actually like to ladder out. So I have like take profit like numbers. So like if I sold it, some at 4,000, some at 45, some at 5, some at 55, some at 6, some at 75, you know what I mean? And have different percentages coming out. That's called laddering out. And that allows me to to be able to, it's kind of like dollar cost averaging in reverse, right? I'm selling on the way up, and I'm selling at higher and higher prices. And then if in the meantime something happens and we do dump, at least on the way up, on the way up the ladder, I was taking profits. But long term, and I will tell you that no matter what, I will be doing this. I do have a Ledger Nano X that I have a bunch of Bitcoin and ETH on, that there is a percentage of my entire portfolio that I just won't touch for the exact reason, Miguel, that you were just saying. So I think that my game plan is I am willing to take a risk, and I don't really even look at it as a risk, but it is. I'm willing to take the risk that the prices don't fall back down, because I believe with so much conviction that they are going to come back down. So what I'm looking at is this. I always talk about making life-changing wealth, right? Generational wealth in a bear market. Well, guess what? If I'm able to double up the amount of money that I'm able to dump into this next bear market, it makes a lot of sense for me. Now, last thing I want to say, I also own a business that allows me to pay all of my bills, take care of everything, no matter what happens with my crypto. And so I think that is the reason that, when we can get into this later, but that is the reason that when we sit down and do coaching strategies, when we talk about consulting for people one-on-one, that's the reason that we are always very specific about, hey, where are you at financially? What are your goals? Where are we headed? And I think all that's super important. So
Yeah, I completely agree, right? I will definitely be taking profits, right? I'll be selling all my altcoins, absolutely 100% of my positions, all of my Cardano, all of my Polkadot, and so on and so on.
tell me
But
why. Tell me why it generally is a really smart idea to be selling all the smaller alts, Miguel.
I mean, it's just it's just a better idea because they are definitely going to take a bigger hit than any other project, right? They're definitely going to feel the heat when the drop happens, and you'll have plenty of time to reaccumulate Cardano and Polkadot and all these other projects at low prices again, and it just has the opportunity, right? Versus Ethereum, Bitcoin, these projects are pricing people out. People will not be able to afford. People can't. Let me rephrase. People cannot afford. Most people cannot afford a Bitcoin right now. They cannot afford to buy a full Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Ethereum is not there yet, right? You know, $3,000, $4,000. Some people still have enough cash to drop that and accumulate
Yeah,
one.
but let's be real. The majority of people aren't buying that either.
Oh, I know.
Whole, you know what I mean? They're buying crap.
I completely agree. Right, they can accumulate slowly with time a full ETH, but they can't. Most American investors don't have enough cash to be able to just drop, you know, $4,000, $8,000 to buy 2 ETH. So that's why I feel so strongly about holding on to Bitcoin and Ethereum, because you will be priced out of it. And, you know, 5-10 years from now, by the end of this decade, 2030, having 5 ETH, 10 ETH, 20 ETH is going to be a big deal. Having one Bitcoin is going to be a huge deal. That's not going to be an everyday conversation that, hey, I heard this guy had one full Bitcoin. That's going to be very rare. So
it's going to be a lot of money. I agree with you. So that kind of that's a good segue into the other part of this. So how do you look at what that game plan looks like? What do you? I'll let you start off with this, Miguel. What do you feel like on the front side of things? Let's just use your own experience. What are the things that you look at yourself and say, you know what? Here are the things that I laid out on the table for myself and said, okay, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing for the long run, like that strategy. How does that look?
So it's different for everybody, right? But for me personally, I haven't been working for this whole year, right? I've been trying to do my own thing, run my own consulting business, do this crypto TikTok thing, and so on. And I haven't really had a steady job. So I will be taking profits at the end of this year for the sole purpose of trying to give myself like a salary, right? So where it can still fluctuate with the taxes, where I'm not getting hit with a tremendous amount of taxes, but I still pay myself a salary that I can then use to reaccumulate in the bear market. But when it comes to exit strategies, right, people need to understand, if you've put in $4,000, $3,000, and you've already doubled or tripled that, minimum you have to pull out your initial capital, right? Pull that out to you be able to expand your portfolio. and then use that money again to buy another asset and accumulate. Once if it doubles up again or triples, you pull it out again and then you buy another asset. And this is how you're growing your portfolio and having free money sitting there. If it goes down, even if it goes to zero, you haven't lost a penny because you've pulled out your initial investment every time. So that's how I see that.
You're playing with house money at that point. And actually, one of the things that we haven't even mentioned yet, Miguel, is when a lot of time, almost all the time, when I take profits right now, I'm taking those profits in the form of ETH and or Bitcoin. Now, that's just for me. That's what I do, right? You're going to have people that are going to say, you know what, H bar is where it's at long term, or Cardano is where it's at, or whatever the case may be, right? Everyone's going to have their own little thing there as it relates to that. But I like to take profits that way. The only other thing that I think makes a lot of sense after you've continued to stack some assets that you're confident in long term is to stack and have some stable coins on the sideline. And the reason that is important for two things. One, to pull the trigger on an opportunity. Let's say that you had heard from somebody right before I'll use the Audius one, for example, right before Audius partnered with TikTok. Let's say you heard like that was about to happen. Somehow you heard that, right? You need capital sitting there right now to be able to say, oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm on that. Let's get it. Right. And
yeah.
And so the one part is having capital ready to rock in the form of stablecoins. The other thing is for staking purposes. The stablecoins, depending on where you're staking, Celsius seems to be the decentralized way to do it that people seem to really like. So I'm going to be taking a good look at that this bear market. But yeah, taking the way that you're taking profits, I think is just as important as when I'm taking profits, because if I take profits in freaking fiat, right? Well, I better have a plan for that fiat. If I'm taking profits in fiat, it's because I need to buy a piece of real estate with fiat and I need to do it like now. So if that's the case, then yeah, I mean, I pull it in fiat and I say, okay, well, here you go. Somebody that's not accepting, Bitcoin or whatever. But if I'm looking at it long term, Bitcoin's where it's at for me. Why am I going to sit this money in a freaking bank account that's going to rub my back and tell me everything's okay and give me 0.01% while they're loaning it out to freaking people for, 6, 8, 10%? It just doesn't make sense.
Exactly right. You're giving them your money so that they can play with it and grow it instead of you growing your own money and making your money work for you. So I think that's a great point that you said there. Taking out your profits, right, and having cash on the side is very important. It's like, you need to think to yourself, do I have spare income coming in constantly that I can use as that cash reserve to buy into another, or I don't have that? If I don't have that opportunity, right, I only got $4,000, $5,000, $1,000. That's all I have. I have no spare income come in. This is all I can do. Then you definitely need to be taking your profits, right, a lot quicker than some other people, right? If you have cash coming in all the time, then you can take more time on when you pull out your profits, when you pull out your initial investments, because you have that cushion coming in, right? You get that bankroll that can support you to jump into other projects as the opportunities present themselves.
This is a perfect spot. I am going to toss this in there. This is the guys. If you're sitting here in the stream and you're thinking, man, there's like a whole lot of stuff that goes into thinking about what I'm supposed to do just to take money off the table, right? This is a lot, right? We've been doing this for years, right? There is a reason that people find it valuable to have that helping hand to say, hey, you know what? Here's the situation where you can just reach out to somebody and say, hey, look, what should I do here, right? We are not financial advisors. We cannot straight up just tell you, hey, you need to be buying this. But I'll tell you what I can do. I can tell you, hey, look, if we go over the whole financial environment of everything you have going on, and you're able to lay that out on the table, right? I have enough experience with that. Miguel has enough experience with that to be able to say, okay, listen, here's what I would do in that situation. And I have been successful in that. And so that is what makes me qualified to give you, the low down and dirty on it. And when it comes to crypto, because it's such a new asset class, listen, I don't care if somebody is a financial advisor. If they haven't been in crypto, toss them out the window because they don't know. It is not the same thing as commodities. It is not the same thing as being in the stock market. It is night and day. And the way that it moves is different. The way that it acts is different. The way that it reacts is different. And so that's why setting up this game plans are absolutely crucial. So
Yeah, setting up when it comes to taking profits, right? Another thing is people need to have the strategy ahead of time. It's not, oh, I'm gonna wait for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the crypto and all the assets to hit new all-time highs, and then I'm gonna sit and decide, okay, am I gonna take profits here? How much should I pull out? If I do, what am I gonna do with it? And start thinking that because you don't have time, right? You don't have that time. Blow off tops. The end of the market happens in a split of a second. You don't have that time. You need to come up with these plans ahead of time. Hey, if Cardano hits $4.45, I'm selling, right? And either you already have your sell order put in, right, and just wait on it and have your money and having your Cardano sitting on the exchange, or you say, well, I don't want to keep my money on the exchange, but I already know as we get closer to that price point, I'll be transferring over, keeping my eyes on it, and that's my sell target, and I'm going to sell when I hit there. You definitely need to have those type of targets for all your assets and your decisions of what you're going to do with that money.
For sure. That's a great point. And that's actually, guys, when you hear us talk about like on-chain metrics, that's one of them. When you see when you see assets flowing onto exchanges, generally that means that they're getting ready to sell something, right? And so that is a very good indicator for you to look at and say, okay, we've got some big movements going on here. Now, a lot of people are paying for that with Glassnode and some of these other, sites where they get this information. But yeah, having that game plan couldn't be more crucial. And I will say it again, just like I said at the start of the screen. If you can put in sell orders, right? Get Coinbase Pro, put in sell orders. It is important. I'm telling you what Miguel just said about you not having time. Guys, I promise you, because here's the thing, right? You look at your portfolio, you believe it's heading one place, but you don't know that. And like, let's just call it like it is. I rode the 2017 market all the way back down thinking that, so did Miguel. So did, literally just listen, I'm fine with saying that, I screwed up, right? However, I'm in a fantastic position now, but looking back on it, right, I wrote it all the way down. Why did I write it all the way down? Because I didn't have sell orders in, because I believed that we were going somewhere further. I believed that it wasn't going to stop at that point. I believed, and it's okay to believe. And if you have money in there that you are willing to and able to lose, right, then it's fine. It's fine. And you just take a deep breath and you say, well, daggone, my portfolio looks a lot different today, but long term, I'm going to be okay. And yeah, it happens. It happens like that. It just absolutely is insane. Overnight, I have seen my portfolio literally change six figures overnight. And I can tell you the day because it happened recently in May 18th or 18th, 19th, something like that.
That's another thing, right? Like long-term investing, right? People think, oh, long-term, 6 months. That's not long-term, right? It's proven, even with Warren Buffett, right? All these other investors, long-term investors are the ones that make the most money. Traders, it's awesome, right? They're awesome. They make tons of cash short end, they also lose a lot of money, right? They also lose a lot of money. And I think there's a crazy statistic that the majority of traders don't come out net positive at the end of the year. So long-term investing is definitely paid out for me. It's paid out for the most people that I know that are in the crypto space, and it just is what it is. Dollar cost averaging for long-term investments is where it's at. But you also need to have those goals of when to pull out your initial investments, when to take out profits, and have those goals in mind before the bull market is over. If not, you will miss it and you're going to have to write it all the way back down. We actually have a really good question here from Ed. I'm going to bring it up to the screen.
Yeah, bring it up.
So Ed is asking, should he take portions of his profits at 22% income tax rate, or wait a year so that he gets hit with 10% long-term capital gains?
You want me to hit that?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So when you're looking at the over, this is one of the this is literally what we were just talking about. There's so many more questions that need to be answered there to be able to effectively help you with this, right? Because when I look at my portfolio, the majority of it, that I would say that 22% versus that 10% makes it a no-brainer, right? Because I'm looking 9, 10 plus years down the road. If you are trying to pay off your student loans in the next year and you're trying to pay your upcoming mortgage a couple months in advance, like that's why more information is needed. But look at it this way. Let's say you did, let's use easy numbers, right? Let's say 10 grand, right? So 22% of 10 grand is 2,200 bucks. 10% of 10 grand is $1,000. So what I would ask myself is the $1,200 difference worth me writing this back down if that's what I believe? Or am I looking so far in the future that, you know what, the $1,200 is going to matter in the long term and I don't want to get rid of it? So I just think that there just has to be some more context to it. But at the end of the day, you need to be able to look at it and say, hey, is $1,200 on 10 grand worth me riding this back down? Am I doing this looking short term, or am I looking super long term? And it's like, hey, either way, I'm hanging.
Yeah, exactly right. How badly do you need this cash right now? If you don't need it right now, where it's a do or die situation, then maybe you can let it sit and you can, but it is what it is, right? You have to be willing and comfortable. You have to do what is right for yourself and what you feel comfortable. And that along with that territory comes do you believe in this project, or is this just a project you jump in to try to double or triple your money real quick and you're getting out? Do you understand the ecosystem that this project is trying to build? Are you a true believer in it? And if you are, then it's a lot easier to write it down and hold on for the long term and keep dollar cost averaging. If you're not, you're going to be miserable.
You guys have seen us and heard us say before, and I know you've heard it in other places too. I can't take credit for this, but there's a reason that you hear so many people say it's time in the market versus timing the market. People probably get tired of hearing me say that, but it is real. If people could time the market, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. It would be very simple. We would jump on. This live stream would take about 38 seconds, and it would be welcome to Debate Crypto, where we sell the top and buy the bottom every day, right? And that's literally all it would be, right? So what do you mean? What do you mean? I just wait until it's at the top today and I sell, and then I wait until the bottom and I buy. And it's just a really simple process that works for me. Oh, really? Is it? Right. And because we don't have that crystal ball, because we don't have the ability to do that, that's why this is so difficult. And then you add the other layer of being, personally and emotionally tied to some of these assets, and it just adds a whole other layer.
Exactly. I want to bring up my parent example again. I brought it up before. Yeah. And it's like my dad's always was telling me, like, dude, you need to be buying and selling. Forget about holding. Buying and selling is where it's at. That's where you're gonna make all this money, right? If you would have sold at this price, look, it came down to this price, and you would have had double or triple the Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever. You would have made all this money. And I was like, look, Dad, it's not as easy as you think it is, man. Like I'm
Monday morning quarterback. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Like it's not that easy. You never know what's gonna happen. It's hindsight's 2020, but in the moment, I didn't know it was gonna come back down to this price. Nobody thought it was gonna come back down. And I told him, look, get into Bitcoin, do whatever it is that you want to do with it. I'll manage it for you, because he doesn't know how to work the apps and all this stuff on his phone. But if you want to sell, you tell me and I'll sell it for you. He's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do it. You watch it, I'll do it. Bought Bitcoin at 53,000. It's been running that bad boy all the way down, all the way back up. Right? And I was like, I thought selling tops and buying bottoms was easy, old man. It isn't as easy as he thought.
It's just never that easy. It is absolutely never that easy. And yeah, guys, so check it out. I think we're at a great spot for me to tell you. Do we have any other questions, Miguel, before we jump off here?
No, I think the only other question was, are there any projects you're not willing to sell any shares of? And I kind of answered that. I think I feel some sort of way when it comes to Bitcoin and Ethereum, that those kind of projects, I just wouldn't like to sell any of it, but I am willing to sell some of it to take some profits on Ethereum, maybe not so much on Bitcoin, but my mind can change at any moment.
Yeah, Jacob, it's Bitcoin and Ethereum for me. As far as to that, let me just tweak your question a little bit. It would be more like, are there any projects that you are definitely going to be holding some onto long term, no matter what? And that answer for me is ETH and Bitcoin. So,
Yeah,
guys, it has been a freaking great show. If nobody's told you before today, we love you. Until next time, hodl like
hodl
it's
like it's
hot.
hot.
Hodl